I don't know about you, but Digimon Adventure was literally my entire childhood. This anime managed to be both epic and nostalgic at the same time in a way that few shows ever do. Seriously, who didn't shed a tear when Butterfly started playing in the background as the Digimon evolved, or feel that lump in your throat during the show's heavier emotional moments? Today, we're diving back into this 90s masterpiece that shaped an entire generation. We'll revisit all the most unforgettable moments, from the very first time Tai and the gang fell into the digital world to those jaw-dropping evolutions that left us glued to the screen. We're talking Digidestined, existential crises, epic battles, and of course, how this anime tackled surprisingly heavy themes in a way that resonated with both kids and adults alike. If you grew up obsessed with this saga, make sure to subscribe and grab some popcorn, because the nostalgia's about to hit hard. Let's take a trip down memory lane and remember why Digimon Adventure remains an all-time classic that just keeps getting better with age.
The only thing that fell is this little box.
What's inside?
It's a box.
Digimon! A box of Digimon! That's ridiculous.
Summer camp. 7 kids. Everything was normal until the sky decided to shatter reality. A bizarre blizzard in the middle of summer was only the beginning. What fell from the sky weren't snowflakes, but 7 mysterious devices. One flash of light later, and the camp was history. Now, they were in a world that shouldn't exist. A vibrant and dangerous island. But they weren't alone. Each of them found a partner, a digital creature that introduced itself as a Digimon. The strangeness of this encounter was brutally interrupted by a colossal monster, a giant insect named Koagamon. Their first instinct was to run, but in this new world, running wasn't enough. Cornered, the children's desperation activated something in their new friends. In a flash of data, the small Digimon burst into their combat forms: Agumon, Tentomon, Biomon, Gabumon, Patamon, Gomamon, and Palmon.
What in the... Look at them!
They fought back, a display of power that saved their lives, but the victory was a prelude to disaster. The ground beneath their feet cracked and gave way, and the entire group plummeted from a cliff, straight into a wild, unknown river. The first battle was won, but the war for survival had only just begun. The fall should have been the end, but the digital world had other rules. Gomamon, Joe's partner, summoned a school of fish that acted as a living raft, rescuing everyone from the deadly current. Exhausted, they washed up on a bizarre beach, dotted with telephone booths that had no right to be there. The hope of calling home turned to dust with each failed attempt, a cruel reminder that they were completely isolated. As hunger and exhaustion set in, the sea revealed another of its nightmares. Shellmon, a sea monster, emerged with a single goal: to destroy them. The Digimon, too weak from lack of food, couldn't digivolve. All except one. Agumon, who had eaten, charged into the attack but was quickly overwhelmed by Shellmon's brute force. Seeing his partner being crushed, broke something inside Tai. That terror activated the device in his hand, unleashing a new wave of power. Agumon didn't just recover, he transformed. Greymon, a dinosaur of fire and fury, arose and annihilated Shellmon with a single devastating fireball. Victory was achieved, but the lesson was clear: the beach was a trap. While a stubborn Joe still tried to make an impossible call, the others knew they had to move on, plunging into the dark forest that promised even more dangers. Leaving the beach behind, the group quickly discovered that violence was the law of this world when they witnessed 2 giant Monochromon battling for territory. Escaping by a hair, they found an unlikely refuge, an abandoned trolley car near a serene lake. The peace, however, was an illusion. A fire to warm them became the trigger for the next horror when the flames touched the tail of a slumbering Seadramon. The sea dragon awoke in a rage, attacking the trolley and dragging it into the depths of the lake. Amidst the chaos, Matt was pulled into the water, drowning. Seeing his partner about to die, Gabumon's power exploded. He became Garurumon, a wolf with metallic fur who tore through the water and shredded Seadramon with his howling blaster. Matt was saved, as was Tai, who nearly drowned and was rescued by a brief reappearance of Garurumon. It was there, gasping and drenched, that the final piece clicked into place. Digivolution wasn't random. It was a direct response, a desperate defense mechanism activated when their human partners' lives were on the line. Now they didn't just have a power, but a terrifying strategy for the challenges to come. The journey became a procession succession of oddities. A strange buzzing in the sky revealed a flying black gear, an omen they didn't yet understand. Following telephone poles that led nowhere, the scorching desert guided them to a village of Yokomon. There, Biyomon was reunited with her friends, a brief moment of peace that was shattered. The same black gear they saw in the sky plunged into Mount Miharashi, and the village's water supply instantly dried up. Worse, Meramon, the volcano's guardian, emerged, driven mad with pain, consumed by a fury that wasn't his own. Seeing her friends in peril, Sora awakened her partner's power. Biyomon digivolved into Bergramon, a phoenix of fire who ripped the gear from Meramon's body, freeing him from his agony and restoring the water. The village was saved, but the celebration was short-lived. As they continued their journey, a terrible feeling washed over the group. They had returned to their starting point. Every step, every battle, had only led them in circles. The horrifying realization that they were walking in circles led them to a new discovery, a massive factory operating in absolute silence, without a single human in sight. Inside, they found a Digimon named Andromon, trapped in a gear. In an act of compassion, they freed him, but gratitude was not what they received. Instead, the same dark energy that had corrupted Meramon took hold of him. A black gear spun in his leg, turning the rescued Digimon into a relentless hunter. As Greymon and Garurumon held back the assault, Izzy's genius mind went to work. He hacked into the factory's system and made a shocking discovery. The place wasn't powered by energy, but by living data. It was an organism. With this knowledge of the system, an opportunity appeared. Tentomon digivolved into Kabuteramon, and, alongside the others, managed to immobilize Andromon long enough to destroy the gear. Freed from the curse, a now peaceful Andromon revealed an escape route, an underground waterway that would lead them far away. It was a gamble, a dark and unknown path, but it was their only chance to break the cycle. They plunged into the sewer system, unaware they were walking straight into the next trap. The sewer was disgusting, dark, and, as they soon discovered, inhabited. A horde of slimy, repulsive creatures called Numamon emerged from the shadows, forcing the group into a desperate flight to the surface. The relief was temporary. They found vending machines, a bizarre piece of their old world. But the Numamon found them again. Their escape led them to Toy Town, a city of toys that should have been cheerful but was eerily silent. Its ruler, Monzamon, a giant teddy bear, confronted them. But there was nothing cute about him. His attacks were hearts that sent the children into sheer euphoria. Only Mimi and Palmon, protected by the Numamon who had taken a liking to Mimi, managed to escape. Seeing her friends turned into puppets, Mimi's courage awakened Palmon's power, who digivolved into Togemon, a giant cactus with boxing gloves. Togemon faced Monzamon and with one clean punch, destroyed the black gear controlling him. Freed, Monzamon apologized, revealing he had been corrupted, and thanked them with a heartfelt hug. The threat was neutralized, but the pattern was becoming clearer. A dark force was spreading these gears, turning peaceful Digimon into monsters, and they were heading straight for the heart of that darkness. They had barely escaped the toy town when the world shifted again, dropping them into a snowy field. The cold was biting, and Joe's caution was seen as pessimism by the others. Tensions exploded when Tai and Matt argued about the next move, to climb Infinity Mountain. Fed up with the fighting and determined to prove his worth, Joe set off alone during the night, with only Gomamon by his side. The climb revealed the truth behind the chaos. They witnessed with their own eyes as a black gear flew and lodged itself into Unimon, a majestic Pegasus, instantly corrupting him. The Digimon, now a hostile beast, attacked them both. In a moment of pure bravery, Joe threw himself towards the monster, risking everything to pull the device out. This act of sacrifice was the trigger. Gomamon digivolved into Ikakumon, a giant battle walrus, who destroyed the gear with his harpoon torpedo attack. They reunited with the group at the mountain summit, victorious, but the view that awaited them was desolate. There was no land, only an endless ocean in every direction. They weren't on just any island, they were on a floating prison. The victory against Unimon meant nothing. From the shadows of Infinity Mountain emerged Leomon, a noble warrior, and Ogremon, his savage rival, both with red eyes, controlled by the same same black gears, and with them came the mastermind behind it all, Devimon. He revealed himself, the master of darkness, the architect of their suffering. His order was simple: capture the children. A desperate escape began, with all the Digimon digivolving to fight, but Devimon's power was absolute. With a single strike, he triggered an avalanche, and the Digimon gathered their last ounce of strength to shatter the falling rocks. Exhausted and defeated, the group found a luxurious mansion, offering food, hot baths, and comfortable beds. It was too good to be true, and it was. The mansion was an illusion, a trap set by Devimon.
I cannot disobey your orders.
In an instant, the luxury crumbled to dust, and the villain used his power to shatter the island, casting each child onto a floating fragment, scattering them across the digital world. Alone with Tai, Devimon revealed that they were the Digi-Destined, chosen to stop him. As the still-controlled Leomon moved in for the final attack, Tai's Digivice glowed, emitting a sacred light that temporarily broke the spell. Freed for a moment, Leomon used his last strength not to fight, but to ensure Tai's escape. The hero's sacrifice was the last glimmer of hope before Devimon swore he would hunt each of them down one by one. Tai and Agumon landed with a thud in Friesland, one of Devimon's island prisons. The cold was an enemy, but not the only one. Frigimon, an ice Digimon, appeared, corrupted by a black gear. The battle was tough, but Tai used desperate creativity, launching Agumon like a fireball to hit and destroy the gear. Grateful, Frigimon created an ice bridge to another island where a familiar sound echoed. There, they found Matt and Gabumon, trapped in a blizzard. Matt was on the verge of hypothermia, and in an act of supreme loyalty, Gabumon removed his own fur pelt to warm his partner, leaving himself vulnerable to the deadly cold. Tai and Matt's reunion was not one of relief, but of tension. Matt was blinded by worry for his brother TK, while Tai wanted to go after Devimon. The argument nearly sent them falling off a cliff. They were forced to unite when another corrupted Digimon, Mojimon, attacked. Greymon and Garurumon fought together, destroying another gear, only to discover a terrible truth. The gears were regenerating and the islands were moving, converging back towards Infinity Mountain. Devimon wasn't hunting them, he was luring them back into the final trap. Now, Tai and Matt's rivalry didn't matter. Either they fought together, or they would be annihilated separately. While Tai and Matt battled on the ice, Mimi and Palmon fell into a dense jungle. Lost, they were found by Sukamon and Chumon, two odd Digimon who, surprisingly, knew where to find Izzy and Tentamon in some nearby ancient ruins. Upon reuniting, they found Izzy completely absorbed, deciphering hieroglyphs and ignoring everything around him. Frustrated by his indifference, Mimi ran off, ending up trapped in a labyrinth within the ruins. It was then that Izzy's genius shone. Using his laptop to track Mimi's Digivice signal, he guided her remotely to the exit, but the labyrinth's guardian appeared, Sentarumon, yet another victim of the Black Gears. Tentomon and Palmon digivolved into Kabuteramon and Togemon, and the battle was won.
That felt interesting.
Freed from control, Sentarumon revealed the secret of the place. They weren't just ruins, but a sacred temple, and the Digivices were the key to preserving the light against the growing darkness. The revelation was cut short by the arrival of Leomon, still a pawn of Devimon, sent to destroy them. But this time, Izzy and Mimi knew what to do. Pointing their Digivices, the sacred light erupted, repelling Leomon. They had discovered a new weapon, a power that came not from strength, but from the very essence of being the Digi-Destined. Little did they know that each fragment of the group was discovering a piece of the puzzle, and soon, all the pieces would come together in an inevitable collision with Devimon. While Mimi and Izzy face off against Leomon, Joe and Gomamon are lost in the endless ocean, and Joe's despair is as vast as his partner's appetite, who has devoured all their provisions. But the real danger isn't starvation. From the depths, Ogremon bursts out of a floating crate, a saltwater nightmare ready for the kill. Gomamon digivolves, the battle is fierce, but Ikakumon runs out of energy and sinks, pulling Joe down with him. The end of the line? No. Sora, like a mirage, rescues them. Seeing Joe broken by guilt, she gives him a reality check. It's time for him to stop doubting and start leading. Their journey leads them to a sinister church, where masked figures celebrate a macabre holiday. The trap is sprung, their Bakemon, and the main course is them. With no energy to digivolve, the situation seems hopeless, until Sora's cunning and Joe's newfound courage turn the tables. With their partners fed, revenge is a dish served with Harpoon Torpedo and Meteor Wing. Joe, using a sacred chant, exposes the Ghost Leader's weakness, sealing their victory. and on the horizon, imposing and menacing, they spot Infinity Mountain, the final destination, but they have no idea that at the top of that mountain, the true Master of Darkness awaits them. While Joe found his courage, TK and Patamon found danger. Separated from the group, the pair plummets down a world-swallowing waterfall, landing in a place that defies logic. Primary Village, the nursery where all Digimon are born. A paradise of data and dreams, guarded by Elecmon, its fierce and distrustful protector. The initial tension explodes into a direct confrontation, Patamon versus Elecmon. But TK, showing a maturity beyond his years, proposes an unexpected solution, a tug of war for the soul of the island. Patamon's victory doesn't breed hatred, but respect. It is there that the truth comes to light. Devimon is the cancer corrupting everything with his black gears. TK now has a new purpose, to reach Infinity Mountain and find his brother, for he knows that friendship is the only force capable of purifying this world. Little did he know that from the top of his fortress, Devimon watched it all with a growing dread. All the other Digimon had already digivolved, all except one, Patamon, the potential angel. Leomon, prepare yourself. Destroy the little Digimon before he becomes the ruin of us all. The calm in Primary Village was a lie. The truce between TK, Patamon, and Elecmon is shattered with the arrival of Leomon, now Devimon's perfect puppet, his eyes consumed by pure malice. Leomon charges at TK, a killing blow about to land, but Garurumon appears like a thunderclap, intercepting the attack. An all-out battle erupts. While the champions hold the front line, Izzy makes a game-changing discovery. The Digivices aren't just maps. They are weapons capable of purifying the black gears. With a pulse of light, Leomon is freed, and with his restored consciousness, he brings an ancient prophecy. They are the Digi-destined, the only hope. But hope dies fast. Devimon appears, no longer a shadow, but a colossal nightmare who has absorbed all the gears, defeating all the Digimon with a single blow. On the ground, amidst the despair, Patamon makes a decision. No more running. He finally digivolves. Angemon is born, a consuming light, and in a final sacrifice, he channels all his energy to annihilate Devimon. The tyrant turns to dust. The island is restored, but victory comes at a bitter price. Angemon, exhausted, reverts to a Digi-Egg, and this victory was merely the beginning of a much larger war. The peace was short-lived. As File Island healed and the Digi-destined cared for Angemon's Digi-Egg, a phantom transmission cut through reality. Genai, a hologram of an enigmatic old man, appeared with an urgent warning. The real danger lies on Server, a new continent. To win, they'll need crests and tags, artifacts that unlock the next level of power. The communication is torn apart by static, leaving more questions than answers. With no time to waste, they build a raft. The crossing begins, and with it, a new miracle. Poyomon hatches from the Digi-Egg, but the ocean hides its own demons. A gigantic wave reveals itself to be Waymon, a sea leviathan corrupted by a black gear. They're swallowed whole. Inside the creature, in a prison of flesh and data, they find and destroy the gear, freeing the beast. Grateful, Waymon not only offers safe passage to Server, but also reveals a crucial secret. Devimon hid the tags at the bottom of the ocean. In a desperate dive, they face Dreamojimon, another corrupted guardian, and retrieve the artifacts. The tags were in their hands, but the crests, the keys to their true power, were still scattered across the Server continent, guarded by an enemy who made Devimon look like child's play. Welcome to Server, a continent where the old rules no longer apply. Following Genai's lead, the group searches for a village of Koromon, but finds Pagumon with fake smiles and deadly intentions. It's a trap. Mimi is captured and Tokomon vanishes. Agumon, sensing the deception, discovers the terrible truth behind a waterfall. The original Koromon are imprisoned and the Pagumon have taken their home. The revelation draws out the true masters of the place, Gazimon, Etamon's henchmen. The battle is inevitable. Agumon digivolves, and Greymon crushes the enemies, freeing the hostages, but the celebration is cut short by a screeching guitar and an unbearable presence. Etamon, the self-proclaimed rock and roll king of the digital world, appears with his dark network. His power is absolute, and with a single chord, he neutralizes the digivolutions of all the champions. They're useless. The only option is to flee. Taking refuge in a cave, they find a glimmer of hope amidst the despair. The first crest, the crest of courage. One crest, a single piece of the puzzle. powerful, but how can they use it when their enemy can simply unplug their power? Fleeing from Atamon throws them into the middle of a scorching desert. On the horizon, a coliseum. Joe's tag glows, and arrogance blinds his common sense. He drags everyone to what he believes will be his moment of glory, but it's just Atamon's stage for a horror show. The trap is sprung, and an evil Greymon, a corrupted and savage version, enters the arena. Tai's Greymon, overfed by a Tai desperate for power, can barely fight. In an act of madness, Tai throws himself in front of the danger, trying to force a new Digivolution, and he succeeds. But what emerges is not a savior, it's Skull Greymon, a monster of bone and blind rage, an abomination that attacks friend and foe without distinction. The power Tai so desperately craved has become his worst nightmare. When its energy runs out, the monstrous creature reverts to a fragile Koromon. The silence is deafening, broken only by Tai's guilt as he finally realizes he hadn't acted out of courage, but out of fear and ego, and that mistake nearly cost them everything. Traumatized and exhausted, the desert continues to punish them. A mirage appears, a cruise ship in the middle of the sand. Real or not, it's their only hope. On board, Numemon greet them, but the hospitality is a sham. Kokatrimon, another of Etamon's lackeys, reveals the ambush. His attack petrifies Biomon, Tentomon, and the others, turning them into statues of stone and despair. Sora and Mimi manage to escape by a hair's breadth. It's their time to shine. Birdramon and Togemon emerge, furious, and the battle is swift and brutal. Kokatrimon is defeated and the spell is broken. After the frantic escape, something even more bizarre happens. A giant cactus, real and pulsing with energy, reveals Mimi's crest, the crest of sincerity. Mimi, who had so often felt like a burden with her complaints, understands that her strength lies in being exactly who she is, unfiltered. Another piece of the puzzle found, but the desert still holds many secrets and dangers. The desert does not forgive. A Kuwagamon, far more powerful than the first one they faced, emerges to finish the job. The end seems certain, until Piximon, a legendary master who looks like he stepped out of an old video game, saves them in the blink of an eye, taking them to his sanctuary, a reality bubble hidden by magic. There, the training begins. It's not about brute force, but about spirit. Tai and Agumon are forced to confront their deepest fears in the dark, overcoming the trauma of Skull Greymon. Meanwhile, Matt and Izzy find their crests, friendship and knowledge, at the bottom of a well. But Etamon doesn't wait. He invades the sanctuary with Tyrannomon, his dark network draining everyone's energy. It's the final test for Tai. This time, there's no ego, no rush, just mutual trust. Agumon digivolves into Greymon, the correct evolution, and defeats Tyrannomon with a strength that comes from synergy, not brute force. Etamon's network is destroyed. Piximon congratulates them, but his warning is cold. You've won a battle, but the true trial by fire is yet to come. Etamon's network leads them to a data terminal lost in the desert. There, a mysterious message arrives on Izzy's laptop, a distress call from someone claiming to be Etamon's prisoner. The trail leads them to an inverted pyramid, a monument to the villain's warped logic. Inside, Izzy deciphers hieroglyphs that change everything they knew. The digital world isn't a planet, it's a parallel universe built entirely of data. Using this logic, he tracks the signal and guides them to a secret chamber. They free the prisoner, Datamon, a robotic Digimon, but gratitude was a farce. In the blink of an eye, Datamon betrays them, grabs Sora and Biomon and disappears through a wall of fire, revealing a secret passage. Tai, who moments before was the epitome of courage, freezes. Fear paralyzes him, and he can only watch as his friend is taken. The guilt is instant and overwhelming. He failed. Guilt eats away at Tai. As the group despairs, a focused Izzy discovers Datamon's hiding place, a secret room beneath the main pyramid. The plan is risky, suicidal. Matt, Joe, and the others will create a massive diversion, attacking Etamon's forces head-on, while Tai and Izzy infiltrate for the rescue. The diversionary battle is a massacre. The group is quickly overpowered. But their sacrifice buys time. Tai and Izzy dodge traps and Gazimon finding the hidden chamber. There, a bizarre scene. Datamon has created a data clone of Sora to force Biomon to fight for him. Fueled by adrenaline, Tai acts. He frees the real Sora just as Etamon bursts into the room. In an act of revenge, Datamon opens a portal to the dark network, dragging both himself and Etamon into oblivion. But the nightmare returns, stronger. Etamon re-emerges, fused with the dark network. This is the end. But then, Tai's crest glows. True courage forged in guilt and redemption finally responds. Greymon becomes Metal Greymon. The power is overwhelming. The villain is annihilated. The victory is total, but it lasts only a second. The unstable portal collapses, sucking Tai and Metal Greymon inside. The victory cost them their leader. Where has Tai been taken? And how will the others survive without him? Waking up in your own room should be a relief. For Tai, it was the beginning of a nightmare. He and Koromon are no longer in the digital world, but back on Earth on August 1st, the same day the nightmare began. No time has passed, but the real shock comes from his younger sister, Kari. She not only recognizes Koromon, but drops a bombshell. She seems to know everything. As Tai desperately tries to contact his friends, the truth hits him like a punch. They are still there, trapped. Worse, the world he thought was safe is being invaded. News reports show chaos, but only Tai and Kari can see the Digimon. Reality is tearing apart. A pixelated message from Izzy appears on the computer, a desperate warning: do not come back. But it's too late. Tyrannomon and Ogremon materialize in his city. The chaos is real. Koromon digivolves, and in the midst of battle, a dimensional rift opens. The choice is clear: stay safe or save his friends. Without hesitation, Tai dives back into the anomaly. He's returning to the digital hell, but what will he find on the other side? Crossing the rift was no triumphant return. It was a plunge back into desolation. Tai and Agumon find Tokomon, alone and abandoned. The revelation is poison. Devimon, the master of manipulation, whispered lies into TK's ear, convincing him that everyone, even his brother Matt, had abandoned him. The friendship that was a pillar now lies in ruins, culminating in a painful fight between TK and his own partner. Seeing his chance, Devimon moves in for the final blow. Mushrooms of forgetfulness to erase Tokomon from TK's memory forever. But Agumon arrives in the nick of time. The confrontation is inevitable. Fueled by the friendship at stake, Patamon digivolves and crushes the manipulator. The friendship is restored, but the scar remains, and with it, a terrifying realization. The barrier between worlds is unraveling. The problem isn't just the digital world anymore. Earth is in the crosshairs too. Tai and TK's reunion is brief. Far away, Matt and Joe's nightmare is just beginning. Enslaved in a bizarre restaurant, they serve Vegemon and the tyrannical Digitamamon, all part of Devimon's twisted plan to break their spirits. Tensions explode when Matt insists on staying to protect Joe, creating a rift in their friendship. The arrival of Tai and TK should be their salvation, but it becomes bait. Digitamamon kidnaps TK, and the ultimatum is cruel. In an unexpected act of sacrifice, Joe offers himself as a human shield. This act of courage is the spark Matt needed. His crest of friendship glows intensely, and Gabumon explodes into a new form. Where Garurumon? The revenge is swift and brutal, but victory has a bitter taste. With the group broken and scattered, they split up again, with the fragile promise to reunite. Little did they know that Devimon was just testing each of them, one by one. Devimon's hunt continues, and the next target is the group's brightest mind, Izzy. He and Tentomon fall straight into a trap set by Vetemon, a being who doesn't want to fight, but to steal what makes Izzy who he is, his insatiable curiosity. Vetemon steals his crest of knowledge, and Izzy becomes an empty shell, an apathetic zombie who has given up on everything. The situation seems lost, but Motimon, even in his weakest form, refuses to give up on his partner, reigniting the flame of the will to know. With his mind back, Izzy reclaims his crest, and the power of knowledge explodes.
Mega Combo Terrymon!
Tentomon digivolves into the colossal Mega Kabuteramon and obliterates Vetemon. The victory is overshadowed by the appearance of Genai, who confirms the worst. The connection between worlds is dangerously unstable. As he delivers new data, somewhere in the shadows, Devimon is punished by his master, Myotismon. The message is clear. The time for games is over. The real threat is coming. While Izzy narrowly escaped having his mind wiped by Vetemon, Devimon's trap for Mimi was far more seductive. Tai and Joe find her not in danger, but in a palace, being treated like a princess by an army of Gekamon and Automamon. The price? Only her voice, to awaken their sleeping master, Shogunmon. Bathed in luxury, Mimi gets lost in the power, delaying her promise and treating her friends like trash, even having them imprisoned. The charade only breaks when a nightmare forces her to confront her own selfishness. Repentant, she sings with sincerity, and Shogun Gekamon awakens. Furious, the giant attacks mercilessly, forcing Metal Greymon to digivolve to neutralize him. Mimi learned her lesson, but Digimon got what he wanted, time. And while they were dealing with a spoiled princess, the real hunt for the final team member continued in the shadows. Myotismon's warning echoes, the crest cannot be allowed to glow. And next on the list is love. The group finds Sora, but she's not the same. She's running from them, haunted by Digimon's poisonous words. Her crest of love will never glow because she doesn't understand what love is. An old trauma resurfaces. Her mother, in an act of protection, forbade her from playing soccer, making her feel trapped and unloved. Sora is broken. When Digimon attacks and gravely injures Biyomon, the cycle nearly repeats itself. Sora tries to protect her partner, acting exactly like her mother. And in that moment, it all clicks. Protecting the one you love is the purest form of love. Her crest explodes with light. Birdramon becomes the imposing Garudamon, and the tide turns, but the celebration is cut short by the arrival of the Master of Darkness himself, Myotismon. He repels Garudamon's attack with disdain, leaving a terrifying warning. Next time, there will be no escape. Myotismon's appearance forces Genai's hand. He drops a bombshell revelation. There is an 8th Digidestined, and they are in Japan. The race is on. Myotismon knows this too, and he's already on his way to eliminate the threat. The only chance they have is to invade the villain's castle and stop him from crossing the portal to the human world. What they find is a chaos of illusions and traps, culminating in a final confrontation before the dimensional gate. Myotismon, with a sadistic smile, steps through as the portal begins to close. They run toward the portal, desperate to make it through, but Tai, their leader, is hit. The gate slams shut with Tai on the wrong side. The group is stranded in the digital world, gripped by total despair. But Genai intercepts the group, revealing a secret escape route and one final test. 9 Digimon keycards, the only way to reopen the portal. The problem? One of them is a fake, a trap that could cast them into random dimensions forever. With Myotismon's castle crumbling around them and Dokugumon attacking, the pressure is immense. Izzy uses his logic to decipher the pattern, but is paralyzed between 2 suspicious cards. That's when Tai steps in. Trusting the unbreakable bond they share, he deliberately chooses Gomamon's card as the fake one. The gamble pays off. The gate activates, pulling them through just seconds before Dokugumon's final attack. Back on Earth, the shock is immediate. Months have passed in the digital world, but here, it's only been a few minutes. The urgency is absolute. They convince their teacher to drop them near Heightened View Terrace, ground zero for everything. Meanwhile, Gatomon, in Myotismon's service, is already patrolling the area, hunting for the 8th child. Chaos erupts when Mammothmon attacks, forcing Garudamon into action. During the battle, the memories click into place like a grim puzzle. The gas leak or terrorist attack they all remember was a fight between a Greymon and another Digimon. That event wasn't random, it was the day they were all chosen, and the 8th child witnessed it all too. The police close in, forcing them to flee. The truth is terrifying. They aren't looking for a needle in a haystack. They're in a race against Myotismon's army, which already knows where to look. Navigating Tokyo with 7 digital creatures is a logistical nightmare. The subway turns to chaos, and the group splits up trying to find food, only to be forcibly reunited when their Digivices begin to beep like crazy. They've discovered a new rule. The devices react when they're near the target. The hunt for the 8th child dives into the Tokyo Underground. Joe and the group try to use the subway to cross the city, but their cover is almost blown when Yokomon picks a fight with a baby. Plan B is a ride with Sora's cousin, but what was meant to be a help turns into a nightmare. Izzy is accidentally thrown off a bridge. In the blink of an eye, Tentomon saves him, and Ikakumon emerges from the water to annihilate a lurking Gesamon. Far away, Myotismon's patience runs out as he scolds his minions for their incompetence. Meanwhile, Tai finally gets home, and an electrifying suspicion hits him. What if Kari is the 8th child? The theory falls flat when she denies having a Digivice. Back in the action, Izzy uses his souped-up laptop and detects a Digimon in the bay. It's time for a showdown. A disguised Tentomon faces off against the bizarre Raramon. In the middle of the battle, Izzy's radar flashes frantically, a signal from the 8th child, which vanishes as quickly as it appeared. Kabuterimon pulverizes Raramon, but the real threat only now reveals itself. Myotismon decides that if you want something done right, you do it yourself. He's coming personally. Izzy's revelation puts everyone on high alert. The 8th child is in the city, somewhere. The group plans to split up in a desperate search, with Joe coordinating the calls. But danger finds Mimi and Sora first. Atop a tower, they are cornered by Skull Meramon, a force of pure destruction. When all seems lost, Metal Greymon tears through the sky and obliterates the enemy. In another corner of the city, the hunter becomes the observer. Gatomon watches Kari, ready to strike, but something stops her. An inexplicable hesitation. Myotismon, however, does not hesitate. His search intensifies, and with it, a new and terrible rule is established. The veil between worlds has been torn. Digimon are now visible to everyone. The secret war is over. Public chaos is about to begin. The strain of the search shatters the group's unity. After a fight, Patamon runs away, leaving Matt and TK alone and lost. Their journey takes a bizarre turn when they meet Pumpkinmon and Gotsumon, Myotismon's henchmen who would rather steal ice cream than hunt children. But their fun comes at a deadly price. Myotismon emerges from the shadows, furious at their disobedience, and mercilessly erases them from existence. The act of pure cruelty reunites the brothers and Patamon. Together, they face the Dark Lord. Where Garurumon and Angemon join forces, achieving the impossible. They force Myotismon to retreat. The victory is temporary, and his promise of vengeance echoes through the city. And as the battle raged, Gatomon continued her silent vigil, watching Kari, the hesitation in her eyes now replaced by a cold determination. She was no longer just a hunter. She was a tormented soul, haunted by flashes of a past she couldn't understand. And then, Wizardmon enters the scene. He doesn't just find the lost Digivice, he finds the truth. The truth Gatomon had hidden even from herself. With a touch of magic, he unlocks her repressed memories. The image of a small Nyaromon, waiting for someone, waiting for Kari. The confrontation is inevitable. Gatomon and Wizardmon find Kari, and the connection explodes into reality. They are partners. But this moment of pure epiphany is brutally interrupted. Myotismon appears, a cruel smile on his face, revealing he knew all along. He captures Gatomon, turning their newfound bond into bait. Tai and Agumon desperately attempt a rescue but are defeated. The villain vanishes, taking Gatomon prisoner and leaving behind a terrifying certainty. His game was just beginning. Myotismon's game board is revealed. A supernatural, impenetrable fog engulfs the district, cutting off all communication and turning the city into a cage. Mimi and Palmon, trapped with her family, are attacked by a dark Tyrannomon consumed by a virus of hatred. Mimi's desperation to protect her parents forces a miraculous evolution. Palmon becomes Lilymon. She purifies the giant dinosaur, but the hope is short-lived. Myotismon appears and with a single attack, Crimson Lightning strikes down Lilymon, leaving her on the brink of death. Chaos spreads. Tai and Kari find Matt, while Sora, now a prisoner with dozens of civilians, orchestrates a mass escape, using a chant to weaken the Bakemon. Their freedom is brief. Sora's mother is captured by Phantomon. Sora escapes, but at a terrible cost. Myotismon's final order is the cruelest of all. Separate all the children from their parents. The hunt for the 8th child has become an act of mass psychological torture. The convention center has become a prison for the Digidestined's parents. Their only defense? Izzy's digital barrier, a code from Genai that can barely hold back the Bakemon horde. Outside the fog, Joe and TK are intercepted by Mega Seadramon. Little TK's life is on the line, and this protective instinct awakens a new power. Gomamon evolves into the mighty Zudomon. With his Vulcan's hammer, he tears a rift in the fog barrier. Through this rift, a gravely wounded Wizardmon emerges, handing over the crest of the 8th child before collapsing. Hope is rekindled, only to be crushed. Matt and Sora are attacked by Tuskmon and Snymon. Garudamon and Garurumon fight bravely, but are overpowered. Seeing her friends about to be destroyed, Kari makes the hardest decision of her life. She reveals herself. I'm the 8th child. She surrenders to Myotismon to save everyone. Taken prisoner as Matt and Sora watch, completely powerless. Kari's sacrifice changed everything. She surrenders, and Myotismon captures her along with Gatomon, reuniting the partners only to use them in his final game. But he didn't count on Wizardmon. Even while wounded, he gives Kari the tag and crest, revealing the truth to everyone. Kari's real partner is Gatomon. The mission is singular. Rescue. The Digidestined unite and invade the TV station, where Myotismon prepares to execute Kari in front of everyone. In an act of supreme loyalty, Wizardmon throws himself in front of the deadly attack, paying the ultimate price for friendship. His death is not in vain. The pain and power awaken Gatomon. who finally digivolves into the radiant Anjewomon. Channeling the energy of all the other Digimon into her celestial arrow, she pierces Myotismon's heart, disintegrating him. The victory is total, or so it seems. Myotismon's fog persists, a dark omen that the evil has not yet been defeated. It is Genai who confirms everyone's worst fear through a prophecy. The king of the undead will return. As the group searches for their parents, Izzy deals with a shocking personal revelation. He's adopted, but finds the strength to accept his truth. And then, the prophecy is fulfilled. Myotismon didn't die. He was reborn. Feeding on the energy of the people trapped in his spell, he re-emerges as Venom Myotismon, a monstrosity of unimaginable power. The only hope lies in the final lines of the prophecy. Following their intuition, Angemon and Anjewomon fire their arrows of light not at the enemy, but at Tai and Matt. The sacred energy hits them, triggering the ultimate evolution. Agumon and Gabumon transcend their limits, becoming the ultimate war machines, War Greymon and Metal Garurumon. The true battle for the fate of two worlds is about to begin. The confrontation is epic. War Greymon and Metal Garurumon, the first two Mega Digimon, against the monstrous form of Venom Myotismon. But brute force isn't enough. Their initial attacks barely scratch the creature. Seeing their leaders in trouble, the other Digimon evolve and join the fight. But the villain only grows stronger, more grotesque. The answer wasn't in strength, but in heart. The crests of the 8 Digidestined begin to glow intensely, a light of pure virtue that finally weakens the dark beast. It's the opening they needed. With a devastating combined attack, War Greymon and Metal Garurumon finally defeat him. The fog dissipates, but what it reveals is even more shocking. The entire digital world is floating upside down in Earth's sky. A falling airplane is saved by Garudamon, proving the crisis is far from over. The war wasn't won, just moved to a new arena. With hasty goodbyes to their families, the 8 activate their Digivices. A light envelops them, pulling them back to the world that now threatens to destroy their own. The homecoming was an illusion. Upon returning to the digital world, the Digidestined find not the place they knew, but a reconfigured nightmare. The world has been reshaped into Spiral Mountain, a monument to the power of new and terrible rulers, the Dark Masters. Confirmation comes from Chumon, who reveals devastating news. Sukamon has been killed. Terror is now the law. Without warning, Metal Sadramon, one of the 4 tyrants, strikes from the sky. The Digimon evolve to their champion forms but are swept aside like dust, completely outmatched. In a desperate act of sacrifice, Piximon creates a diversion so the children can escape. He is captured, his fate sealed, as the group runs aimlessly towards Spiral Mountain. Why run when destiny is always the same? The group runs in circles, the desert seemingly laughing at them. Out of nowhere, a crude trap, a drowning girl who is actually Shellmon, but something has changed. Without needing their mega forms, the Digimon dispatch the threat. They are stronger, more battle-hardened. Hope appears in the form of a restaurant in the middle of nowhere, but hunger turns to nightmare when Scorpiomon reveals that they're the main course. They're trapped. It's Mimi and Joe's turn to shine. Lilymon and Zudamon enter the fray and turn the tables, but they barely celebrate their victory before the true terror appears. Metal Siedramon, one of the Dark Masters, pulverizes the location with absolute power. Is this the end of the line? No. They've escaped the desert, but they've just plunged into the territory of the Master of the Depths. Safe inside Waymon? Not a chance. The relief is short-lived as reality hits hard. The entire ocean is Metal Siadramon's domain. As if to prove it, a school of Divermon attacks, but Waymon shows them who rules the deep, crushing them with abyssal pressure. The only way out is an underwater tunnel, and the key to finding it lies with Kari and her mysterious whistle. A sound echoes. A passage reveals itself. They surface for air and come face to face with Metal Siadramon himself, who was waiting for them like a predator. The confrontation is inevitable. War Greymon and Zudamon charge, but the Master of the Sea is relentless. In an act of supreme sacrifice, Waymon throws himself in front of a deadly attack, creating the only opening they needed. With the pain of loss burning, War Greymon focuses all his power into his Terra Force. In response, Metal Siadramon fires his devastating River of power. Two colossal forces collide, and for an instant, the fate of the entire digital world hangs in the balance. Who will fall? The dust settles. Metal Seadramon is defeated. An overwhelming victory for Wargreymon, but one with a bitter taste. Waymon, the friend who saved them, has been reconfigured, lost forever, and the shock doesn't stop there. The entire ocean vanishes as if it never existed, revealing the dizzying peak of Spiral Mountain. The game has changed again. Out of nowhere, Puppetmon, the master of marionettes, appears, and the very ground beneath the Digidestined's feet begins to move, manipulated like a game board. In the chaos, TK is kidnapped. Matt, desperate, tries to force an evolution that won't come, but TK is no longer the little crybaby. He tricks Puppetmon, destroys the remote control, and escapes on his own. The group reunites, relieved, but the victory is empty. Matt, silent and grim, simply vanishes. No explanation, no goodbye. The search is desperate, but he doesn't want to be found. Alone, he becomes an easy target for manipulation. Cherrymon, a servant of Puppetmon, emerges like a venomous whisper, showing Matt a reflection of Tai in a lake, painting him not as a friend, but as a rival, holding him back. Meanwhile, Puppetmon sends his Garbagemon for a direct assault, but they are just a noisy distraction, easily defeated. The real attack, Cherrymon's, has already hit its mark. The seed of doubt has bloomed into hatred, and then he returns. Not as Matt, the friend, but as Metal Garurumon, ready for war. He doesn't want to talk. He challenges Tai to a battle to the end. The enemy was no longer a Dark Master, it was a brother. Wargreymon and Metal Garurumon clash in a battle not of power, but of pain, jealousy, and broken hearts. Each blow tears not only at Metal, but at the friendship that once united them. At the height of the combat, a light blinds them, and the world falls apart. They are ripped from reality and thrown into a dimension where the truth is revealed. They witness the creation of their own Digivices and crests, discovering why they were chosen, the connection that has bound them since before they were born. But the revelation that should have united them only serves to break them completely. The vision ends, the fight stops, but Matt, now with a new and dark conviction, decides his path is a solitary one. He turns his back on everyone. Seeing the team fall apart, a heartbroken Mimi also gives up. She and Joe stay behind. They finally understood why they were chosen, only to shatter at the moment they needed to be whole. The final threat approaches, and the Digidestined have never been more divided. As the dust from Tai and Matt's fight still hangs in the air, something bizarre happens. A mysterious entity possesses Kari, and through her eyes, everyone is forced to watch a memory from the past. Paidmon, the clown of the apocalypse, trying to steal the Digi-eggs that would become their partners. As soon as the vision ends, Kari returns to normal, but the damage is done. The revelation unites no one. Matt, more determined than ever, leaves. Mimi and Joe also split from the main group. As the team breaks elsewhere, an old enemy, Ogremon, fights for his life against a Woodmon but is struck by a mysterious meteorite. Fallen and injured, he is found by Joe and Mimi, who, putting the past aside, tend to his wounds. In the distance, Tai and the rest of the group spot the same meteor and decide to investigate Puppetmon's mansion. There, they find help from an unlikely source, Daramon, a guardian betrayed by his own master. The infiltration is a success until Puppetmon appears. The confrontation is inevitable, but the chaos gains a new player. A reborn and more psychotic Metaletamon crashes the scene. In the midst of the chaos, Tai's group manages to escape. Meanwhile, as Mimi and Joe flee from the mansion, they come face to face with a legend, Leomon. Thanks to a Digivice, he can now Digivolve, but the raw power is uncontrollable. The reunion is interrupted by the arrival of Metaletamon, thirsty for revenge. To protect everyone, Leomon forces the Digivolution to Saber Leomon. But the price is high. He is mortally wounded in the process. Fury consumes Joe, and Zudomon smashes Metaletamon once and for all with his chrome Digizoid hammer. Far away, the other battle comes to an end. Puppetmon, the master of marionettes, has his strings cut for good by the cold, calculated appearance of Matt and Metal Garurumon. With the Dark Master's defeat, the entire forest he controlled simply vanishes. Before he fades, Leomon reveals a dark truth. Primary Village, the birthplace of all Digimon, has been destroyed. The only way to restore it is to defeat all the Dark Masters. These words ignite a fire in Mimi. No more running, no more refusing to fight. She decides she won't run anymore, but will instead build an army. And her first recruit is the most unlikely of all, Ogremon, who now fights by their side. The war wasn't over, it was just beginning. And now, it had new generals. With 2 Dark Masters down, the path doesn't get any easier. Tai's group crosses a digital desert when the worst happens. Kari collapses, burning with fever. They find a bizarre, empty city, a collage of places from the real world. The mission is clear. Tai and Izzy raid a hospital for medicine, but they are not alone. Machinedramon, the villain's military brain, intercepts the signal from Izzy's laptop. He knows exactly where they are. Mechanorimon and Tankmon are sent to attack. During the escape, Izzy has a flash of insight. The internet that helps them is the same one that gives them away. With a makeshift program, he masks their location and throws the enemies off their trail. But Machinedramon doesn't play to win. He plays to annihilate. The order is given: bombard the entire city. Tai and Izzy run back, only to watch in horror as the building where Kari and the others were hiding is pulverized. At the last second, Angemon emerges from the rubble with everyone safe. The relief, however, is a decoy. Machinedramon prepares a final attack, an energy cannon capable of erasing them all from existence. There is nowhere to run. It's the end of the line. Trapped in the rubble, the group is separated. TK, Gatomon, and an unconscious Kari find Sora and Biyomon. The little girl wakes up, and the first thing she asks for is her brother, discovering he risked everything for medicine. But there's no time for emotion. They stumble upon a horrifying scene. Warumanzamon torturing dozens of Numamon, using them as living batteries to power the base. The instinct to help is stronger, but Warumanzamon attacks them mercilessly. That's when something inside Kari awakens. A pure, overwhelming light allows Gatomon to digivolve into the radiant Angewomon. Alongside Birdramon and Angemon, they not only defeat the tyrant, but also free the Numamon. This same light serves as a beacon, guiding them back to Tai and Izzy, who are being hunted by Machinedramon himself. In an act of gratitude and suicidal courage, the army of Numamon throws itself at the war machine, getting massacred in seconds. That sacrifice was not in vain. Kari's light, amplified by the small Digimon's courage, gives Agumon the power to warp Digivolve. War Greymon emerges and with a single precise strike destroys Machinedramon. A master has fallen, but his empire crumbles on top of them, and in the chaos, Andromon appears, organizing a resistance. The battle is over, but the war for survival has just begun. With Machinedramon's fall, the mechanical city dissolves into data. Far away, Joe and Mimi find Elekmon in the devastated primary village, and convince him to join their growing rebellion. Inspired by Matt, Joe decides he too must find his own purpose, his own path, and leaves alone, making Mimi the leader of the resistance. Meanwhile, Tai, Izzy, and Kari finally reach the summit of Spiral Mountain. The air is thin, the tension is thick. At the top is not the final boss, but his elite bodyguard, Lady Debimon. Tai, showing the maturity of a true leader, sends Sora and TK on a crucial mission: find Matt, Mimi, and Joe. He knows that alone, they don't stand a chance. He and Izzy will hold the front line. The battle against Lady Debimon is fierce, a duel of angels and demons, but Mega Kabuterimon, with his brute strength, finally defeats her. The silence that follows is more terrifying than the fight. From the shadows with a sadistic smile emerges Paidmon, the last of the Dark Masters. The clown of the apocalypse has taken the stage. Wargreymon is ready for a fight, but deep down, Tai knows the truth. Against what's coming, he's going to need everyone, and his team is in pieces. Matt wasn't just lost, he was drowning in his own darkness. Found by Joe in a cold cave, he confesses the truth that was eating him alive to Gabumon. He felt useless, an obsolete protector now that TK no longer needed him. It was Gabumon's hard truth that pulled him back from the brink, but little did he know that another friend was facing the same darkness. Sora, swallowed by a cave born from her own fears of failure, was trapped in a loop of guilt. The darkness fed on her insecurity, and it was starving. When Matt, Joe, and TK find her, Matt understands everything. This wasn't a physical battle, it was a mental war. With the right words, they rescue her, and Sora finally dispels the prison she had created for herself. The team reunites at the top of the mountain, but the scene is a nightmare. Tai and an exhausted Wargreymon are about to fall to Paidmon. Hope seemed dead, until from the horizon, Matt appears, side by side with a Gabumon who warp digivolves into Metal Garurumon. At the last second, the two Megas, the rivals, the friends, block Paidmon's final attack. The game had just turned. Hope arrived in a flash of metal and fury, and in the blink of an eye, it was extinguished. Paidmon, with a simple gesture, turns Tai and Matt into mere keychains, a morbid trophy of his victory. What follows is pure panic. panic. The rest of the group flees through a circus of traps, a sadistic nightmare created by the Dark Master. Jo sacrifices herself so that TK and Kari can escape across a mysterious rope that appears from nowhere, the last spark of hope. Alone against the monster, Angemon fights bravely but is brutally defeated. All seems lost. But then, in TK's mind, his brother's words echo. The fear vanishes. Hope explodes, and Angemon rises, no longer as an angel, but as an archangel. Magna Angemon. With a single blow, the Gate of Destiny, Paidmon is sucked into oblivion, and their friends are restored. Spiral Mountain crumbles. The victory is total. But when Genai appears, his face shows not relief, but a chilling warning. The true threat, the evil force that was behind everything, was yet to come. They defeated the Dark Masters, but there was no time to celebrate. Genai speaks of the terrifying prophecy of the Firewall, an ancient entity, a force of pure annihilation, threatened to erase not only the digital world, but their world too. From the ashes of his enemy's defeat rises Apocalypse, an abomination formed from the pain of all failed Digimon, a being made of pure resentment, and he wastes no time. Using the attacks of every villain they had ever faced, he humiliates them, reverting their partners to their rookie forms, and, in a final blow, shattering their crests, the source of their power, broken into pieces. Then, the children themselves are disintegrated, sent to a digital limbo. But there, in the void of the world of data, they have an epiphany. The power was never in the artifacts. The power was always inside them, forged in every battle, every tear, every embrace. With this new certainty, they reform themselves from nothing, and without needing their crests, their Digimon explode with light, reaching their most powerful forms. Apocalypse wanted to erase their symbols. He only made them realize they never needed them at all. This was it. Aid children and their partners against the personification of oblivion. In a perfectly synchronized display of power, the Digimon in their ultimate forms destroy Apocalypse's claws, dismantling the threat. But the monster, in its final act of desperation, prepares one last strike, total annihilation, an explosion designed to erase all existence. There was nowhere to run. This was the end. But the Digivices, the small devices that began this entire journey, shine one last time. In an act of pure friendship, they contain the blast, channeling the energy of annihilation and turning it back on its creator. Silence. Apocalypse dissolves into data. The digital world, free from corruption, begins to rebuild itself, with File Island rising from the ashes. The celebration, however, is short and painful. Genai warns them the gate is closing. The goodbyes are a punch to the gut, promises exchanged through tears with the friends who became family. As the light from the portal fades, Tai looks back one last time. The adventure was over, but something inside him knew. The gate would open again. This wasn't goodbye. It was see you later. Years have passed. The world was safe, or so they thought. TK, now older, meets Yole and Cody on the way to school. On the field, TK spots a boy playing who reminds him of Tai. In the classroom, fate brings TK and Kari together again. The peace is shattered by an email, an SOS from Tai. Izzy, Kari, and TK rush to the school computer, but they're followed by the curious Davis, Yole, and Cody. Suddenly, 3 new Digivices emerge from the screen, choosing them. Pulled into the digital world, they find a nightmare scenario. Agumon and the others are weakened, oppressed by a new tyrant, the Digimon Emperor. Amid the chaos, they find a shrine holding the Digi-Egg of Courage. No one can move it, no one, except Davis. Upon touching it, he releases Vmon. Attacked by a controlled Monochromon, Davis overcomes his fear, and a new power awakens. Armor Digivolution, Vmon becomes Flamedramon.
Flamedramon, the fire of courage.
And obliterates the dark ring controlling the enemy. The first mission was a success, but upon their return, a terrible mistake is made. The first mission was a success, but on the way back, a terrible mistake happens. The Digimon are left behind, separated from the group. The anguish is short-lived. The next day, Izzy confirms the gate is open again. It's time for a rescue. The old and new generations dive into the digital world together, only to fall right into an ambush. The Digimon Emperor attacks, and this time, he captures Davis, the new leader. Desperate, Yole and Cody's Digivices guide them to a hidden temple, where the Digi-Eggs of love and knowledge rest. Without hesitation, Yole lifts her egg, releasing Hawkman, and Cody does the same, awakening Armadillomon. With guidance from Sora and Izzy over the communicator, they shout the magic words. Hawkman becomes the swift Halsamon.
Halsamon, the wings of love.
And Armadillomon transforms into the mighty Digimon.
Digimon, the drill of power.
Together, the new dynamic duo rescues Davis and Vmon, crushing the controlled Digimon. The team returns home, complete and stronger. The new team was finally formed, but they were playing chess against a master who was always 3 moves ahead. Routine sets in, but it's a facade. Yole and Cody try to adapt to school life with their new partners in hiding, while the anxiety for the next battle grows. Watching TV, Cody sees a report on Ken, a child prodigy, an acclaimed genius. Little does he know he's looking at the face of his greatest enemy. Back in the digital world, the Emperor's cruelty reaches a new level. He's forcing friendly Digimon to fight to the death. The situation grows more tense when a controlled Tyrannomon attacks them. During the battle, Kari and TK are guided to a secret cave where they find their own Digi-Eggs, light and hope. The veteran's power awakens. Gatomon armor digivolves into Nefertimon and Patamon into Pegasusmon.
Pegasusmon, flying hope.
Nefertimon, the angel of light.
With the team complete, they free the Tyrannomon. That's when Cody comes up with the game-changing idea. They can't win by just fighting monsters. They need to find out who the Emperor is in the real world and stop him. Meanwhile, in his room, the genius Ken smiles, planning his next move. The revelation that the enemy was human made everything more personal, and the Emperor responds with brutality, capturing Gabumon, Matt's partner, and publicly torturing him. The message was clear. No one was safe. The Digi-Destined mount a suicide rescue mission, disguising themselves as prisoners to infiltrate the Emperor's fortress. The plan goes south when Red Vegemon discovers them, and a chaotic battle erupts. But in the crossfire, a stroke of luck, Red Vegemon accidentally cracks the control spire powering the prison. For an instant, the Emperor's power falters. It's enough. Gabumon, free from the control, digivolves into Garurumon. The fury of a liberated partner, combined with Flamedramon's power, annihilates Red Vegemon. They destroy the spire, and in doing so, make a crucial discovery. The spires are the power source for the Dark Rings. Izzy pulls up a map, and everyone's stomach drops. Vast areas of the digital world were blacked out, conquered. They weren't just fighting random battles. They were losing a war without even knowing it. The map was a call to action. The first sign of life comes from a frozen region, a desperate SOS from Gomamon. Cody hesitates. His kendo practice calls to him, but his grandfather's words convince him. True honor lies in helping others. The solution is insane. Trigger an avalanche to reach the spire. The plan works, but Cody nearly dies in the process. Saved at the last second by Gomamon, Joe makes a leader's decision. He stays behind to care for the injured boy. The rest of the team presses on, facing an enslaved Shellmon and Abidramon. Flamedramon and Digmon hold the front line while the others destroy the spire. With the power source down, Gomamon erupts in power, digivolving to Ikakumon and crushing the enemies. Another area was liberated, a small light in the vast darkness of the map. After so many battles, they needed a break, a picnic, and to make the day perfect, Mimi, the Digi-Destined of Sincerity, was back for a visit. They choose a forest that seems to be the only peaceful place in the digital world, but in a world under siege, peace is a lie. It was a trap. A hidden control spire emerges and enslaved Gekamon and Otamamon surround them. Palmon, even without the power to digivolve, stands in front to protect Mimi. Separated in the confusion, Yole and Hawkman face the dangerous Roachmon brothers. Inspired by Mimi's courage, Yole activates Armor Digivolution, and Halseman joins the fray. But victory comes from an unexpected place. Mimi, using her wits, tricks the Roachmon into attacking their own control spire, destroying it. The energy wave frees Palmon, who immediately digivolves into the mighty Togemon. Together, the veteran and the rookie, Togemon and Halseman, finish off the Roachmon. Mimi says her goodbyes but leaves behind an inspired Yole and a vital lesson. Every victory was a learning experience, not just for them, but for the Emperor, who watched from the shadows. The hunt for control spires seemed to be working until it turned into a deadly trap. As Tai and his group watched another spire turn to dust, an ambush by Gardramon turned the tables. In the desperate escape, the unthinkable happened. Kari was left behind, trapped in the digital world. The news hit like a ton of bricks, and tension exploded between Davis and TK, who clashed over how to rescue her. But before the fight could escalate, a coded message arrived. An email from Kari. It was the signal they needed. In the digital world, the rescue mission quickly became a nightmare. nightmare when Andromon, a former ally, appeared to attack them, his eyes cold and controlled by the Emperor. The situation was critical, but the arrival of Tai and Matt changed everything. The mere sight of Tai was enough to break the mind control, and Andromon's memories came flooding back. In an act of redemption, the metal giant not only destroyed the control spire, but also reprogrammed the Guardramon. Back in the real world, Izzy's revelation sent a chill down everyone's spine. The D3S, their greatest weapon, were the key to everything. And on the other side of the screen, Ken, the Digimon Emperor, reached a sinister conclusion. To win, he needed to destroy the very source of his enemy's power. While Ken planned his next attack in the digital world, in the real world, he was just a soccer genius, humiliating his future nemesis, Davis, on the field. The loss stung, but Davis's admiration for his worthy opponent blinded him to the truth. Shortly after, an alert from Cody leads them to a new control spire, but it was a setup. The ground opened up and swallowed them, dropping them right into the Digimon Emperor's clutches. In a sick psychological game, Ken forced Davis to make an impossible choice, save only one of his friends from a hungry Deltamon, but Davis refused to play, and that's when the charade fell apart. The friends were just disguised Bakemon. The battle exploded, and Flamedramon reduced the spire to ashes, but in the midst of the chaos, one detail changed everything: a cut on Ken's leg, identical to the one Davis saw on the soccer field. The pieces of the puzzle clicked into place in Davis's mind, and the truth hit him like a punch, and with a cold smile, Ken confirmed it. The Digimon Emperor was no longer an anonymous monster. He had a name, a face, and for Davis, the war had just become personal. But for Ken, the real world was just a boring stage. Annoyed by the futility of his genius life, he disappears, leaving only a farewell letter behind. While the Digidestined searched for him in vain, Ken accelerated his conquest of the digital world. Determined to stop him, the group tracks him to an unstable volcanic region, where they are met by an army of Merimon. The battle was just a distraction. Ken's real target was Greymon. With calculated cruelty, he forces Greymon to digivolve into his darkest, most uncontrollable form, Skull Greymon. The creature became a force of pure destruction, wiping allies and enemies off the map before collapsing. Exhausted, amid the smoke and terror, Ken recaptured Agumon and vanished. They hadn't just lost the battle, they had lost a friend. And the terrifying truth set in. If Ken could do that to Agumon, none of their Digimon partners were safe. Agumon's kidnapping fractured the team. With the team in disarray and insecurity causing Yole to stay behind, the rescue mission was already at a disadvantage. Meanwhile, Ken faced a problem. The Dark Ring was flawed, causing Greymon to regress into the uncontrolled Skull Greymon form. So, he innovated. He created the Dark Spiral, an enhanced and far more dangerous version. Guided by Tentomon, the Digidestined find Agumon, but it was another trap. Ken appears, and before a horrified Tai's eyes, uses the new spiral to force a controlled Dark Digivolution into Metal Greymon. The battle to free him was useless. Ken's control was absolute. Tai was broken, watching his best friend turned into a puppet. But when all seemed lost, Yole arrived with backup, Matt. The battle for Agumon was far from over, and with help from the old guard, the resistance was about to fight back. But little did they know, Ken now had the perfect weapon in his hands. With his perfect weapon, the Digimon Emperor wasted no time. A trail of control spiders spread across the digital world, and leading the charge was a red-eyed Metal Greymon. Aboard a train, the team tracked him, discovering a Digi-Egg bearing the crest of friendship along the way, too heavy to be lifted. Suddenly, chaos. Flymen attack from the sky, capturing Patamon. Ken arrives with Metal Greymon, but Garuramon appears to even the odds. During the confrontation, Davis hesitates. How could he fight at full strength against Tai's partner? It was in that moment of doubt that he understood. True friendship sometimes requires sacrifice. With that conviction, the Digi-Egg reacted. Vmon armor digivolves into Rydramon.
Rydramon, the storm of friendship.
The thunder of friendship. With blinding speed, he shattered the dark spiral, freeing Agumon. They won the battle, but the Digimon Emperor learned a valuable lesson. His weapons weren't strong enough. It was time to create a nightmare that not even friendship could escape. While Ken refined his plans, the rest of the digital world continued to suffer. A desperate distress call from Biomon dragged Sora and the others into an Old West nightmare. An entire town was under the control of Starmon, the Emperor's sheriff, who quickly arrests the group. The situation situation seemed hopeless until cunning prevailed. While Deputymon, free from control, distracted the villain with a card game, the kids plotted their escape. With a daring plan, Armadillomon gnawed through the ropes and became Digimon, clearing a path to freedom. The showdown was inevitable. In the final battle, they focused on the true enemy, the Control Spire. With the spire in ruins, the dark influence dissipated, and Starmon returned to normal. The town was freed, but somewhere in the shadows, a much more personal and insidious threat was forming, targeting not the whole team, but the purest heart in the group. Evil doesn't just attack with armies. Sometimes, it seeps into dreams. Kari begins to be haunted by nightmares, and her strange behavior culminates in a shocking disappearance in the middle of class. A portal opened and took her. Desperate, TK and the others search for her, only to discover she was dragged to a lonely beach in another dimension. There, the Scubamon find her, claiming to be slaves and begging for Kari's light to free them from the dark rings. Kari, with her kind heart, helps them, but it was a trap. Once free, they revealed their true plan, to make her their queen and use her to fight their undersea master. It took Angemomon's intervention to drive them away, but before they fled, they left a sinister warning that chilled Kari to the bone. Their evil master knew of the power of light, coveted it, and would come for her. The hunt had begun. While the threat of the undersea master loomed over Kari, the rest of the group stumbled into a different kind of trouble at a digital world diner, a bill they couldn't pay. Forced to work in the kitchen by Digitamamon, help arrived in the form of Mimi and a new face, Michael, an American Digidestined. His story expanded their universe, revealing that the battle against Myotismon in Odeba had created new Digidestined all over the world. The conversation was brutally interrupted. Gorillamon, corrupted by a dark spiral, attacked, and Digitamamon was corrupted while trying to protect them. Seeing Mimi under attack awakened something in Yole. A protective fury made the Digi-Egg of sincerity glow.
Shurimon, the samurai of sincerity.
Hawkman became Shuriman and, with a ninja's precision, destroyed the spiral, saving everyone. With the danger past, a new kind of connection sparked between Yolai and the American Digidestined. In a samurai region, the group fell into an ambush, saved by Gekamon and taken to an underground refuge. There, they met the colossal Shogun Gekamon, and that was exactly what the Emperor had been waiting for. He appeared, corrupted the sleeping giant with a dark spiral, and turned a potential ally into the greatest threat they had ever faced. Thinking fast, the group used Shogun Gekamon's brute force against him, tricking him into destroying the very control spire that dominated him. Meanwhile, Yole, in a duel of honor, used Shurimon to defeat Ninjamon, proving her worth. The spire fell. The Digimon were freed. Another victory for the Digidestined. But from a distance, the Digimon Emperor didn't look defeated. He was smiling, because they had just unknowingly fallen for the first step in his true and terrible trap. Victory after victory, they grew bolder. But the Emperor wasn't the only danger in the digital world. In the dark depths of the ocean, a Megasiadramon cornered them under an oil rig. There, they found the Digi-Egg of reliability, but the discovery turned into a race against death as the room began to flood. Panic seized Cody. A childhood trauma involving the ocean paralyzed him, causing him to refuse the only escape route. The group had to force him out. Desperate, Cody lied to his mother and found Joe, who didn't hesitate to help. Back on the rig, Cody felt like a fraud, unworthy of the crest for having lied, but Joe made him see the truth. His lie had saved everyone's life. This realization awakened the Digi-Egg. Armadillomon became Submarimon, the guardian of the seas.
Submarimon, guardian of the seas.
Together, he and Ikakumon dominated the aquatic battle and destroyed Megasiadramon's dark spiral. Cody hadn't just escaped, he had conquered his greatest fear, but every Digi-Egg found, every new power awakened, only heightened the Emperor's interest. The chess game continued, and he was about to put their king in check. The celebration for the victory against Megasiadramon is cut short before it can even begin. Cody, ever the most level-headed, throws a bucket of cold water on the celebration. The Digimon Emperor is still out there, and worse, the school's computer lab, their only gateway, has been turned into a detention room. Game over? Not for Izzy. He bets everything on a wild theory. The new D3s can open a digiport from any computer. The test works, the screen glows, the passage opens, but Izzy's mom arrives at the worst possible moment, closing closing the window of opportunity. Meanwhile, across the city at a TV station, a mysterious shadow begins to haunt the broadcasts, a bad omen no one understands. The tension explodes when, during an emergency meeting, this same shadow materializes in front of Kari. It's not an enemy, it's the spirit of Wizardmon. With a voice heavy with urgency, he delivers a chilling prophecy. A darkness far greater than the Emperor threatens to swallow both worlds. The only hope? Something or someone called the Golden Radiance. Before they could ask a single question, Wizardmon vanishes into thin air, leaving behind a warning that would change everything and a question that echoed in the silence. What the hell is the Golden Radiance? With Wizardmon's prophecy weighing on their minds, the Digi-Destined know there's no more time to waste. The plan is simple: invade and destroy the Emperor's base. But how do you attack a target that just disappears? That's exactly what happens. The base vanishes from the map. While Cody, TK, and Kari discover a minefield of dark spires and the Emperor's floating fortress, they are brutally attacked, escaping by the skin of their teeth. Back in the real world, the older kids create the perfect alibi, a camping trip, for the new generation to embark on their most dangerous mission yet. But frustration is eating away at Yole. Acting on impulse, she dives headfirst into danger and is ambushed by Delkugumon. Hawkman sacrifices himself to protect her, falling poisoned. Flame Dramon's rescue arrives in the nick of time, but guilt devastates Yolai. As she nurses Hawkman, Cody swears he saw a shadow watching them, but no one listens. Amidst the chaos, Yolai and Hawkman share a moment, and he reminds her that her stubbornness is actually her greatest strength, and that's when they find it. The Emperor's base didn't vanish, it evolved. It's now a colossal flying fortress, nearly complete, ready to launch its final program. The game had just leveled up. As the Emperor's fortress haunts the skies, Cody and Submarimon dive into the depths. They not only locate Ken's underwater base, but also free dozens of imprisoned Digimon. But something sinister pulses at the heart of the structure, a dark whirlpool, emanating pure evil energy. The group splits up in a desperate race against time. Davis, left behind, refuses to be a spectator and sets off alone. Inside the fortress, a confrontation is inevitable. TK faces Ken and memories of Devimon, a tyrant from the past, resurface. He sees the same evil in Ken, and Ken, with a cruel smile, answers not with words, but with a creation. He reveals Chimeramon, a Frankenstein's monster, stitched together from the parts of the strongest Digimon. The creature is a living nightmare. The battle is a massacre. In a desperate move, TK calls on Armored Digivolution, and Patamon transforms into Pegasusmon, forcing the beast to release the Digimon. It's the opening they needed. They escape the collapsing base, but the image of Chimeramon is burned into their minds. They didn't win, they just postponed the apocalypse. Chimeramon is on the loose. Controlled by the Digimon Emperor, the indestructible monster pulverizes entire cities as the flying base advances relentless. Panic sets in. Izzy then comes up with a suicide plan. Use an underwater oil pipeline as bait. Agumon and Gabumon set it ablaze, creating a wall of fire that draws the beast's attention. It's the perfect distraction. Davis, Kari, and TK infiltrate the fortress, only to be met by an army of Bakemon, and their worst nightmare is confirmed. Chimeramon returns, more furious than ever. Their combined attacks are useless, their energy drains, and the Digimon regress to their weakest forms. Hope is dying, but Davis doesn't give up. He runs alone towards the engine room, with Vmon by his side, and there they find the most unlikely help, Wormmon. In an act of betrayal against his master, he reveals that Ken has completely lost control, and shows them the way to disable the base's power source. As they arrive, something incredible happens. A golden Digi-Egg, the fortress's power source, emerges and flies towards Vmon. Now, with the power of the golden radiance pulsing through his veins, a new legend was about to be born. The final battle against Chimeramon was about to begin.
Wow, that was intense!
The clash is titanic. Magnamon, the embodiment of the golden radiance, faces Chimeramon's brute force, but not even the golden power seems to be enough. The creature is pure destruction, and Magnamon is brutally overpowered. Seeing his master Ken about to be annihilated by his own creation, Wormmon makes a final decision. He throws himself in front of the attack, transferring every drop of his life force into Magnamon in a supreme sacrifice. Fueled by the power and the pain of loss, Magnamon unleashes the Magna Explosion, an attack so devastating it completely disintegrates Chimeramon. The silence that follows is deafening. On his knees, Ken finally understands. The cruelty, the pain, the suffering, he sees it all, and he cries, not as an emperor, but as a lost boy. The crest of kindness appears, given to him as a form of forgiveness. But it's too late for Wormmon, who vanishes in his arms. Back in the real world, the news is about Ken's mysterious reappearance. But for the original Digidestined, the real news is something else. The new generation didn't need them. They faced the abyss and came out stronger. The torch had been passed. With the dust from Ken's tyranny settling, it's cleanup time. The Digidestined arrive in the digital world to lead the rebuilding effort. The team split up. TK in the mountains, Yolai in the city, Cody at the beach, and Davis, he gets the lake, but frustration consumes him. While Patamon and the others digivolve to the champion level with ease, Vmon seems stuck. Determined to force the evolution, Davis sets up a series of pathetic traps, including a cardboard monster and a fake bridge collapse, which obviously fail. What he didn't expect was that his clumsy act would end up provoking a real threat. A furious Tortamon emerges and the chase is on. Cornered and with his adrenaline pumping, Vmon finally breaks his limit. The light of Digivolution explodes, and from it emerges X-Vmon, who defeats Tortamon with impressive ease. Grinning from ear to ear, Davis watches his partner join the cleanup crew, no longer as a rookie, but as a champion. Ken wakes up, but he isn't himself. In a hospital room, he stares at his parents as if they were strangers. Amnesia has stolen his memories, leaving only a terrifying emptiness and confusion. Flashbacks haunt his mind, the shadow of his genius brother Sam, the glow of a mysterious Digivice that dragged him into darkness, the rise of the Digimon Emperor. He feels that a part of him, his heart, is missing. Driven by an instinct he doesn't understand, Ken returns to the digital world. His steps lead him to Primary Village, the place where all digital life begins anew. He searches for Wormmon, but only finds the distrust and fear of the Digimon he himself terrorized. It's in a vision, upon remembering the promise he made to Wormmon to be kind, that it hits him. He was never himself. And then, he finds him, a small Leafmon. The reunion is explosive and emotional. Back in the real world, Ken looks at his mother and for the first time with clarity, calls her mom. The journey to find his heart was just beginning. A nightmare haunts Ken. A mysterious woman, shrouded in shadows, challenges him, mocking his weakness. Meanwhile, in Primary Village, the Digidestined face a serious problem. Vmon and Patamon can no longer digivolve. The control spires, even inactive, still seem to poison the land. The theory is tested in the worst way when a Thundermon attacks out of nowhere. Armadillomon digivolves into Ankylomon, holding the line of defense, but victory seems impossible. Suddenly, a figure emerges from the shadows. Stingmon defeats Thundermon with a single precise lethal blow, and from the same shadows, Ken appears with Leafmon. The Digidestined are paralyzed, torn between relief and suspicion. Who was that Digimon, and why did Ken help them? Little did they know that from a distance, the woman from Ken's nightmare was watching everything with a satisfied smile. The true threat was just beginning to reveal itself. In the human world, the debate over Ken divides the group. Davis preaches redemption, but Cody can't forgive. Far away, Arukenimon, the woman from the nightmares, shows her true power. She transforms a control spire into Golmon, a stone aberration that threatens to destroy a dam and flood a city. Mimi and Palmon try to stop it, but Palmon is gravely injured. It's an emergency call. In the battle, Yolai finally overcomes her doubts, and Hawkman digivolves into Aquilamon. Seeing that brute force isn't enough, Mimi insists they call Ken. He arrives with Stingmon and reveals the truth. Golmon is not a Digimon, but an inanimate object corrupted by dark magic. Together, they destroy it. Ken refuses to join the group, but Yolai sends him an email. A bridge, however fragile, had just been built. The reconstruction work barely resumes before Arukenimon attacks again, creating Minotaurumon from a control spire. The assault is savage. Davis, ignoring the team's protests, insists they need Ken. At the same time, an alert from Izzy sends everyone into a panic. An anomalous signal is coming from the Emperor's old base, a massive overload. The fortress is about to explode. Ken, who had been destroying spires on his own, is confronted by Arukenimon. She throws the truth in his face. She was the one who manipulated him, who turned him into the Digimon Emperor. The guilt crushes him. When the Digidestined arrive at the ticking time bomb of a base, they come face to face with Okuamon, another of Arukenimon's creations. Their attacks are useless. Amidst the chaos, Davis confronts Ken. The tension between them is palpable. palpable, a mix of rivalry, desperation, and a mutual need, and in that moment of maximum tension, something impossible happens. XVmon and Stingmon are bathed in a blinding light. When it fades, in place of the two stands a single imposing silhouette, Paildramon. DNA Digivolution, facing a time bomb and two new enemies. A force never seen before had just been born. The battle explodes onto the screen. Paildramon, the perfect fusion of power, faces Akuamon in a brutal clash. While chaos reigns outside, Ken and Davis race against time towards the base, but they're too late. The crystal of kindness shatters, unable to contain the blast of energy. At the epicenter of the disaster, they uncover the dark truth, a portal to the dark ocean, pulsating like a malevolent heart. Outside, Paildramon finishes Akuamon with a devastating blow and rushes to help seal the vortex, stabilizing the area by a thread. But the real battle was being fought inside Ken. Guilt gnaws at him, but Davis's affirmation, "We're friends," is an even harder blow, forcing him to pull away to deal with his demons. The next day, a revelation from Izzy changes everything. DNA Digivolution, with Omnimon as living proof, is their new hope. He reveals the sacrifice of the original Digidestined, who gave up their crests to seal away evil, losing the power to reach the Dokugumon Mega level. Fusion wasn't just a new technique, it was their legacy. With hearts ablaze, the new generation now has a clear target. The hunt for Arukenimon is on. Paildramon's shadow hangs over everyone, and Arukenimon's promise of revenge echoes in the air. Ken can't get the overwhelming power out of his head. To break the tension, Davis throws out a challenge, a crazy competition to see who can destroy the most control spires. But in a quiet moment, the true nature of fusion is revealed. The Digimon describe a surreal experience where their minds merge into a single consciousness within Paildramon. Ken fears the side effects, but Wormmon knows the truth. What scares him isn't the power, but the guilt of his past that still haunts him. Meanwhile, in the shadows, Arukenimon finds a recorder and prepares her masterpiece of evil in the Giga House. An email is sent. The bait is set. Knowing it's a trap, they dive headfirst into danger, but what awaits them is a nightmare, an army of insect Digimon, and then the horror becomes real. Arukenimon pulls out a magic flute, and with its sinister melody, she turns Stingmon and Digimon into puppets, forcing them to attack their own partners. Trapped in a giant web with no way out, Davis, Cody, and Ken can only watch as their friends become their enemies. Immobilized in the web, all hope seemed lost. Davis, Cody, and Ken watched helplessly as their Digimon partners turned against them, controlled by Arukenimon's infernal melody. But despair is the fuel of heroes. Cody, with an agile move, frees his hands and comes up with an insane idea. Use the room's air conditioner to create a gale force wind. The plan works, blowing the Dokugumon away and tearing the web apart. The group reunites, breathless, and a piece of the puzzle clicks into place. The flute only affects insect Digimon. The solution wouldn't come from strength, but from intelligence. Yolei, the tech wizard, rushes to a computer and devises a sonic counterattack. She records, distorts, and amplifies the flute's sound, creating a cacophony that breaks the spell. Stingmon and Digimon are free. Furious, Arukenimon reveals her true form. Not a human, but an ultimate level Digimon. The battle resumes, Paildramon versus the Spider Queen. But just as victory seemed within reach, Mummymon emerges from the shadows, rescues his partner, and traps the Digidestined with his bandages, securing their escape. As the villains vanish, Cody faces Ken. A thank you seals a new understanding, but Cody's final sentence leaves a bitter taste. I still owe you one. The personal war between them was far from over. While Arukenimon and Mummymon weave a sinister plan involving 100 control spires, the Digidestined continue their demolition mission, oblivious to the gathering storm. The tension between Cody and Ken is a volcano about to erupt, and not even Yolei's intervention can calm things down. And then, Arukenimon's plan comes to fruition. Using a spirit needle, she channels the unholy energy of the 100 spires into a single point. From this fusion of pure evil, a creature of unimaginable power is born, Black War Greymon. A Mega Digimon, forged in hatred, who emerges with a single purpose, destruction. The attack is instant and overwhelming. The Digimon and the Digidestined are swept aside like dust. In an act of desperation, Yolei calls for Ken. Paildramon is formed, but not even the power of fusion can scratch the black armor. The defeat is absolute. Arukenimon, triumphant, orders her creation to annihilate the digital world, but Black War Greymon's response shocks everyone. With a cold voice, he refuses. I obey no one. He departs, leaving leaving his creator unconscious on the ground and the Digidestined paralyzed in terror. They were no longer facing a villain with a plan. They were facing a force of nature, an unpredictable monster in search of its own destiny. The hunt for Gadamon's lost tail ring leads them into a forest that breathes darkness. For Ken, every shadow is a gateway to his most terrifying memories. The dark ocean has returned to collect its debt, dragging Ken's mind into an abyss of nightmares. Suddenly, the ground gives way. Kari and Yole plummet, isolated and trapped. It's the chance Arukenimon has been waiting for. She sends Blossomon to attack, and Kari's fear explodes. The darkness of the ocean consumes her, but Yole won't allow it. With a scream that tears through the despair, she confronts Kari, awakening the light that still shone within her. The reaction is immediate. Gadamon and Aquilamon unite in a stunning new form, Sylphimon. With a single attack, Static Force Blossomon is pulverized. The group is reunited, but the victory has a bitter taste. They were back together, but a seed of darkness had been planted in both Ken and Kari, a seed that sooner or later was bound to bloom. Unleashed upon the digital world, Black War Greymon is a soul in torment. He smashes Mammothmon, a pathetic creation of Arukenimon's, but the victory brings him nothing, only an existential void. His purpose, his reason for being, where was it? Upon encountering Agumon, a philosophical debate begins. Can a creature born of hatred have a heart? Arukenimon, desperate to control her creation, directs him to a new target, a Destiny Stone, a pillar that maintains the balance of the digital world. The Digidestined arrive to protect the sacred site, but are powerless. With a single terrifying Terra Destroyer, Black War Greymon not only defeats Nightmon, he pulverizes the stone. The result is catastrophic. The very fabric of reality is torn, creating a spatial distortion, and in the midst of the chaos, Black War Greymon finds his new purpose. He no longer seeks an opponent. He seeks the truth, and to find it, he will destroy every Destiny Stone one by one, no matter the cost. Chaos spills into the real world. During a school trip to Kyoto, a distortion opens and a wild Apemon attacks Yole. Out of nowhere, Ken and Stingmon appear to contain the threat. The coincidence is bizarre, until Professor Takanuchi reveals an ancient secret. Kyoto, the former capital of Japan, is a point of convergence, a place where the barrier between our world and the digital world is dangerously thin. The legends of spirits and gods weren't just stories, and as if to prove his point, Muzyomon emerges, ready for battle. Shorimon, the agile fusion, defeats him and hurls him back through the digiport that Yole manages to open. Little did they know this was just the beginning. Arukenimon reveals her master plan. There are 5 more Destiny Stones scattered about, and the destruction of each one is unraveling the fabric of the digital world, thread by thread. The race against time and against Black War Greymon had officially begun. Using an algorithm from Izzy, the Digidestined locate the next stone and prepare an ambush. But how do you ambush a god of destruction? The blast of holy energy hits Angemon, and TK's rage, forged in past battles, overflows. That power, that fury, triggers a miracle. Angemon digivolves to Magma Angemon. The Archangel faces the Black Dragon in a clash of titans, but Black War Greymon, after destroying the last visible stone, simply escapes, leaving behind a trail of destruction and a mysterious Digimon emerging from the ruins. The partial victory only served to reveal that the threat was even greater than they had imagined. The destruction of the stones reopens old wounds for TK, who struggles not to be consumed by the darkness that once haunted him. Meanwhile, Cody fights a moral battle. If Black War Greymon has a heart, do they have the right to destroy him? Guided by a primal instinct, Black War Greymon dives into the ocean, heading for the 6th stone. The plan is risky. Cody and Samarimon, with the help of the Dolphmon, form a submarine defense line, while the rest of the team tries to stop the monster on the surface. But it's useless. The combined power of Peldramon, Sylphimon, and Angemon isn't enough to stop him. He dives, and the stone is destroyed. In an act of courage or madness, Cody confronts him face to face, pleading with him to stop. The killing blow is launched, but Angemon throws himself in front, saving Cody at the last second. With only 1 stone left, Black War Greymon departs, obsessed with finding his final nemesis. The frantic search in Digi Chinatown is interrupted by an irresistible aroma of soup. The source? A sacred spring bubbling from the stone itself, the last fortress of the digital world. As they prepare for the final battle, Arukenimon and Mummymon flee through the forest, where they stumble upon a small pond. Inside it, a mysterious stone is revealed. Black War Greymon appears, ready to destroy it. It's now or never. Hope fuses into power. XVmon and Stingmon become Paildramon. Aquilamon and Gatomon become Sylphimon. And then, for the first time, a new legend is born. Angemon and Ankylomon unite, and from the ashes of the last stone, Shakumon, the Angel of Steel, emerges. The new and mysterious evolution faces down Black War Greymon. The fate of the entire digital world hangs on this final confrontation. Like a phantom of pure destruction, Black War Greymon appears with a single goal: to erase the stone from existence. He fires his Terra Destroyer attack, a blow capable of annihilating anything, but the unthinkable happens. Shakumon, in his very first appearance, absorbs the blast and returns it with overwhelming force. Planning to protect the stone, the group uses their D3s to channel energy into it. A beam of light shoots up into the sky, and a deity descends. Azulangmon reveals the shocking truth. Black War Greymon is no ordinary Digimon. He was forged from the same control spires that imprisoned his power. His very existence is an anomaly, tearing apart the fabric of the digital world. The Dragon God explains the true purpose of the Digidestined, of the crests, and why light and hope are the keys to everything. Before departing, Azulangmon leaves a dark morning. A far greater evil than Arukenimon is pulling the strings. And as they celebrate a seemingly definitive victory, Davis looks to the horizon and his smile freezes. A single control spire stands, defiant. The war wasn't over, it was just beginning. Shortly after freeing one of the digital world's gods, the Digidestined go into cleanup mode, taking down control spires. In a rare moment of peace, Ken convinces them to come to his Christmas party, an attempt at normalcy that is about to be shattered. The day becomes magical when the original Digidestined are reunited with their partners, a reunion that seemed impossible. But during Matt's concert, all hell breaks loose. Wild Digimon erupt from nowhere, and a black control spire pierces the sky, blocking all Digivolutions. Panic sets in. It's the cue for the new generation. They arrive, destroy the spire, and orchestrate a perfect counterattack. In a symphony of power, they open a portal and send the invaders back home. But the victory tastes bitter. Kari feels a chill, a sinister presence behind it all. Her suspicion becomes a global terror as the news starts pouring in. It wasn't an isolated attack. Spires and portals were appearing simultaneously all over the planet. The invasion had begun. The world is on fire. Dallas, Venice, Sapporo, no city is safe. Control spires and wild Digimon turn the planet into a battlefield. As panic spreads, Izzy makes a shocking discovery. There are hundreds of Digidestins scattered across the globe, hidden until now. In the midst of the chaos, Genai reappears, no longer as the enigmatic old man, but rejuvenated and bearing a gift from the gods, a Digicore from Azulangmon, the key to unleashing maximum power in the real world. In Tamachi, Davis and Ken face a furious Triceramon. XVmon and Stingmon unite, but Paildramon isn't enough. It's time for their trump card. With the power of the Digicore, Paildramon doesn't just evolve. He is reborn as Imperialdramon, a colossus of unimaginable power. With a single blast from his positron laser, he eradicates all the control spires in Japan. The battle is won, but the war is global. Genai reveals his network of allies in New York, Hong Kong, Moscow, and other key cities, sending the heroes to lead the worldwide resistance. As they depart on their most dangerous mission yet, Arukenimon and Mummymon watch from the shadows, planning their next attack on a now completely defenseless Japan. In New York, Imperialdramon drops off Davis and Ken, who meet Michael, the movie star's Digidestined son. There, a clone of Genai gives them another Digicore, and the American team faces a Cherrymon threatening the iconic Rockefeller Center Christmas tree. Meanwhile, in Hong Kong, Kari and Izzy join forces with the Poi brothers to hold back hordes of Digimon. The situation escalates to the point of nearly causing a military conflict between China and India, forcing Kari to use Octomon to send a message of peace and avert a war in the real world. Victory seemed within reach on all fronts, but in a dark alley, far from the heroes, a lonely, heartbroken boy meets Mummyman, and the villain begins to whisper dark promises. The enemy's true plan wasn't about control spires, it was about corrupting a child's soul. The battle for the planet rages on. In Australia, Cody and Joe meet an ally of Genai's disguised as Santa Claus, who helps them locate Derek, a local Digidestined cornered by Simon. monsters. Using guerrilla tactics, Zudomon, Submarimon, and Crabmon turn the tide. At the Great Barrier Reef, they face a giant Scorpiomon, and in a brilliant maneuver, defeat it without damaging the reef, destroying the last Australian spire. On the other side of the world, in Paris, TK and Tai get help from TK's grandfather to infiltrate Versailles, where a Digidestin named Catherine has been taken hostage by the cruel Mamamon brothers. The old guard shows its power. Metal Greymon and Magna Angemon decimate the kidnappers, free Catherine, and destroy the spire in the Seine River, ensuring a safe Christmas for the city. Tai breathes a sigh of relief, feeling the weight of the mission accomplished. Little did he know that as Hiro celebrated around the world, a mysterious figure was watching a sick girl from a window, and a much more sinister plan was about to be set in motion. The global effort reaches its peak. In Mexico, Matt and Ken bypass security at Mayan ruins with the help of Jose, another of Genai's agents, to find Rosa, a young Digidestined. Together, Stingmon and Wergaruramon crush Minotauromon and Dokugumon. In Russia, the language barrier nearly ruins everything for Sora and Yolei, but they come up with a genius plan. Use the names of Russian foods as code words to coordinate airstrikes against Flymon and Frigimon. With Imperial Dramon's intervention in Siberia, the last battlefront is won, and the invading Digimon are sent back. The mission was an absolute success. The Digidestined, exhausted but victorious, prepared to head home, believing the worst is over. But in a secret hideout, Arukenimon turns to Mummymon with a venomous smile. "Let them go back," she hisses. "They'll have a surprise waiting for them in Tokyo." The global invasion was just a diversion. The real attack was about to begin. They return home as heroes, but the atmosphere is wrong. Kari senses a danger she can't name. TK hears a disturbing story from his mother about a strange man obsessed with the events of 3 years ago. Ken is haunted by visions of Arukenimon. The peace is a lie. Suddenly, hell erupts in Tokyo. 3 mega-level Digimon, Marine Devimon, Lady Devimon, and Skullsatamon emerge simultaneously, spreading chaos. The Digidestins split up but are overwhelmed. Imperial Dramon, their greatest hope, is brutally defeated by Skullsatamon. In an act of desperation and sacrifice, the original generation's Digimon transfer their energy to him. Imperial Dramon is reborn, more powerful than ever, as fighter mode, and obliterates his opponent. But as the dust settles, their victory is stolen. A mysterious man emerges from the shadows, his eyes locked on Ken. He doesn't want to fight. He demands Ken come with him because of a dark spore planted inside the boy. Ken refuses, but the man reveals his trump card, a group of kidnapped children. With their lives on the line, the man escapes, taking Ken with him. The enemy wasn't a Digimon, it was a man, and he knew Ken's darkest secret. The hunt is on. With the help of Joe's brother, the Digidestine pursue Arukenimon and Mummymon in a high-speed car chase. Lady Devimon attacks to stop them, threatening an innocent child. This is the last straw for Yolei. Consumed by a protective fury, she and Kari fuse their partners into Sylphimon, who mercilessly disintegrates Lady Devimon. The victory leaves Yolei shaken, forced to confront the brutality of war. Meanwhile, Ken faces his kidnapper, Oikawa, a supposed friend of his late father. And then comes the revelation that shatters Ken. It was Oikawa who sent the email that lured him to the digital world, who turned him into the Digimon Emperor. He had been manipulated from the very beginning. Oikawa's plan? To extract the original Darkspore from Ken to implant it in dozens of other children. The chase leads everyone to Heighten View Terrace, the site of the first battle, a gateway between worlds. They corner Oikawa, but he's not alone. From the shadows emerges a malevolent presence that makes Arukenimon look like a child, a demon lord, Daemon, and he didn't come to talk. He came for the dark spore. Demon's power is absolute, a force of nature that scoffs at the Digidestin's attacks. Imperial Dramon fighter mode, Sylphimon, Shakumon, all are useless against him. Brute force won't work. Trying to send him back to the digital world is futile. He can cross the gates freely. Hope is nearly dead when Kari, remembering a place of pure nightmare, comes up with a terrible but brilliant idea. Use the dark ocean as a prison. The only person who can open a gate there is Ken, forcing him to dive back into the darkness that nearly consumed him. With the support of his friends, Ken confronts his past and tears open the fabric of reality, opening a portal to the nightmare realm. Daemon is sucked in, but not before vowing his return. In the chaos, Oikawa escapes, but not before whispering to the kidnapped children, planting a seed of command in their minds. minds. The heroes rescue the children, and Ken finally reconciles with his parents. The crisis seems to be over, but from a distance, Oikawa watches. He no longer needed the original spore. He had already planted his harvest, and soon it would bloom. The victory over Daemon is hollow. As the heroes discover the real threat is just beginning, they monitor the rescued children and witness the first proof of Oikawa's plan. One of them, Noriko, attacks a cat with a cold, inhuman cruelty, the influence of the dark spore corrupting her from within. The situation escalates to a cosmic level when Black War Greymon returns to the real world, not as a villain, but as an inquisitor seeking the truth. He confronts Oikawa and learns the horrifying truth of his own existence. He was created from human DNA. Seeing Oikawa as an abomination upsetting the balance of both worlds, Black War Greymon decides to eliminate him. The ensuing battle is cataclysmic, with War Greymon and Imperial Dramon joining forces to stop the Dark Digimon. But the fight is ended not by force, but by words. Wormmon, the smallest of them all, pleads with Black War Greymon to find a new purpose, a reason to live instead of destroy. His words reach him, and he retreats to reflect. The immediate battle is over, but the mystery deepens when the heroes find an old photo in TK's father's office. In it, a young Oikawa stands beside a man they know all too well, Cody's late father. The shocking connection rewrites everything they thought they knew. This war didn't start with the Digimon Emperor. It began years ago, with a promise between two men, and Cody is right in the middle of the storm. As the Digidestined hold a tense vigil at the Heighton View Terrace gate, Black War Greymon, on his desperate hunt for a purpose, is about to collide with their destiny. Far from the battlefield, a dark truth about the past comes to light. Cody's grandfather reveals that Oikawa's sick obsession with the digital world began with his tragic friendship with his son, Hiroki, and his death pushed him into madness. The threat of fate tightens when the group follows Noriko, and her dark spore blooms, a dark beacon for evil. From the shadows, Oikawa emerges, not to attack, but to suck the energy from the girl's dark flower like a ravenous parasite. But he's not alone. Black War Greymon returns, demanding answers, and the confrontation is inevitable. At the climax of the battle, the shocking truth is revealed. Oikawa is just a puppet, his body controlled by a dark entity. Wounded, and understanding his final purpose, Black War Greymon lets out one last roar of defiance. In a supreme act of heroism, he sacrifices his own body to seal the gate forever. But the victory came at a bitter cost, and the true puppeteer behind Oikawa was still hiding in the shadows, waiting for the moment of his grand entrance. The calm before the storm. At Heighton View Terrace, the Digidestined await the inevitable, with Izzy's mom bringing sandwiches in a moment of surreal normalcy before leaving to warn the other parents. Then, he arrives. Oikawa, the pawn in the game, uses the stolen power from the dark spores to tear reality asunder, opening a portal, but it wasn't to the digital world. It was a trap, dragged into a dimension of pure nightmare and darkness. The truth is finally revealed. An echo from the past, a voice that haunts their worst nightmares, reveals that Myotis Mon has been in control all along, manipulating Oikawa for 3 long years to orchestrate his triumphant return. In a grotesque act of power, he absorbs the dark flowers and is reborn as Malo Myotis Mon, incinerating Arukani Mon and Mummy Mon as if they were trash. Faced with a reborn ancient god, the heroes freeze, paralyzed by terror. The silence is broken by a scream. Davis, refusing to yield, snaps them out of their trance. The hesitation is gone. Fear has given way to fury. The final battle against a nightmare that refused to die was about to explode, and the hero's response is immediate. No plan, no hesitation. Davis and Exvimon charge straight in, a display of pure courage. But the villain doesn't fight with brute force. He attacks the soul. With his mental illusion, he plunges each Digidestined into a perfect prison, a sweet poison made of their deepest desires. TK with his family reunited, Yole in a candy paradise, Cody embracing the father he lost, Kari seeing peace between worlds, and Ken face to face with the ghost of his brother. But the bonds that unite them are stronger than any illusion. Patamon, Hawkman, Armadillomon, Gatomon, and Wormmon break the spell, ripping their partners from the nightmare. The only one immune, Davis, whose unshakable optimism and simple desire to fight makes him impervious to manipulation. He's the one who discovers the key. In this dimension, emotions are ammunition. With this revelation, the tide turns. They all channel their desires, and reality bends to their will. Patamon, Hawkmon, and Armadillomon manifest all of their evolutions at once.
Reliable guardian of the seas. I'm Digimon.
The unified attack forces Malo Myotis Mon to retreat. The climax of hope materializes as Pal Dramon emerges and Mega Digivolves into Imperial Dramon fighter mode. A positron laser pierces the villain, but instead of destroying him, the blast throws them into the digital world. They hadn't beaten him, they had only pushed him onto his home turf, where the darkness made him stronger. With a scream that rips through reality, Malo Myotis Mon opens a rift to the real world, ready to drown both universes in eternal darkness. The apocalypse has begun. Malo Myotis Mon's darkness bleeds across both worlds, suffocating reality as his screaming darkness attack fells the Digimon. In Japan, even the legendary original Digidestined are powerless, unable to open a gate. This is the end. But then, a miracle. Across the globe, gates of light open, beacons of hope in an endless night. Millions of children, an entire forgotten generation of Digidestined, activate their Digivices, uniting their wills in a symphony of light that repels the darkness. From the digital world, Davis watches, amazed, as Digimon partners from every corner of the planet converge for the final battle. Malo Myotis Mon scoffs, but their combined attacks weaken him. In a final cruel blow, he tries to break the corrupted children's spirits, telling them they are unworthy. But Kari and Davis ignite their hearts, revealing their own simple, pure dreams. To sell noodles, to be a teacher, an artist. Their reborn hope is so powerful it forges new Digivices and partners for them. Now, completely united, they channel the concentrated power of every dream in the world into Imperial Dramon, who fires the Giga Crusher.
Giga Crusher!
Disintegrating the evil forever. In the aftermath, a dying Oikawa finds redemption as he is reunited with Datiramon, his forgotten partner. With his last breath, he sacrifices himself, becoming the energy that heals and protects the digital world. 25 years later, the promise of that day was fulfilled. Tai is a bridge between worlds. Man has reached the stars, and all the others have built the lives they dreamed of, alongside their children and their Digimon partners. Their friendship endures, an eternal legacy, as a new generation prepares to protect their own dreams.